This is Life Transformation Radio. Prepare to engage. Seatbelt activated. Download initiated. Your quantum journey of transformation begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. Hi, I'm Rob Actis, best-selling author of The Law of Action, voice actor, business mindset coach, the podcast whisperer, and Mr. Action himself. Here at Life Transformation Radio, we are committed to share more about real life, love, the power of positivity, romance, and of course, laughter. We care about helping others find their internal drive and purpose. We celebrate life's challenges and overcoming them. On the show, my guests are amazing people who are forces for good in the world around them and live a life of transformation. My guest today, she does just that. My good friend, Jennifer Horspool, is here to talk about getting back to your centered you. And if you want to get back into the centered you and get into the flow of your life, this is the show for you. Jennifer is a communications and public relations expert, a global brand strategist, international speaker, and founder of Engagement PR and Marketing. And she's also my friend. And more than 3 decades of building and protecting brands from startups to Fortune 500, she uses her relationships and talents in media, messaging, branding, and other PR strategies to make her clients seen, known, and revered for their expertise. She's also a brand growth and turnaround specialist. She has grown companies from vision to multi-million dollars and turned best-kept secret brands into the go-to experts for media and target customers. And today, we're not talking about public relations, PR, branding, or best-kept secrets. We're talking about transformation and how to get back to your centered you. Jennifer, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for having me. It's exciting to be here.
Absolutely. So, everybody in life has challenges, and it's how we deal with those challenges that really determine how we are going to get through life.
Right. Life is full of ups and downs continuously.
Absolutely. And so you've had some ups and downs over the years, and those ups and downs have really had a significant impact on you and your personal life over a good amount of years. And then over the last year, you had a death in your family, and that just really was a spiraling effect all over. Mm-hmm. You killed it in business, but personally, wow. So
my life was falling apart. Exactly. Yeah, I actually, life, you have your plans, you're in your 20s and, you go to college and you have your life plans, and life, maybe does or doesn't really quite go as you planned, but you're still on a pretty much of an upward trajectory. And I was on that upward trajectory. I had actually never failed in life until this last situation that happened. Actually, about 9 years ago, I got into a relationship that derailed me something fierce. And so I was all the way up, climbing up the ladder. And really, I kind of felt like I was at the top of my game when I entered into this relationship and literally fell off a cliff and kind of lost every single thing about myself, and then had to rediscover myself. And he did end up passing away. And the healing that has taken place since that is really where the transformation has really come to a solid place.
Yeah. So I've known you for a few years, and it's interesting because who you are today is not who you were on the outside a few years ago. And the most amazing thing is I've always seen you as you are today. I saw the forest through the trees. I saw the beautiful soul that you were, and you were really, really struggling.
Thanks. Yeah, I was in a lot of internal pain. It's interesting because I had shoved down feelings of hurt from childhood that I honestly did not even know was there. I mean, I have friends who have gone through some real trauma in their early childhood. And I mean, I had my share, right? I mean, I'm a human being. Everybody has
Yeah.
their share, But when I would compare mine, I was like, I didn't have alcoholism in my family. I didn't have abuse in my family. I didn't have molestation or any of those god awful things that some people have to go through in their childhood. And so I just thought, well, I didn't really have any childhood trauma. I'm fine. But yet my life was not fine. And so when I had to put rubber to the road and really start looking at, like, how did I get here? How did this happen? And I discovered, oh, I did have childhood trauma and I did shove it way deep down. And this last relationship was easy to point the finger and say, oh, it's all everybody else's fault, right? It's not mine. It's all yours. You were mean to me, right? But the
Right.
truth is that all those outside things, all those outside triggers where we want to blame other people are really just that. They're triggers of and indicators of pain that already lives deep inside of us. And that was my big thing. It was my big aha moment that I didn't realize that all those mean things that I thought other people were doing to me were really just feedback about internal hurts that I had buried deep inside that needed to be addressed so that I could come back to the center of who I really am and the core of me, which is the sunshine girl. I like being happy.
Absolutely. And it's because I've talked to you for a long time and you haven't been happy. And it almost speechless is that I saw who you are today before you were Sunshine Girl.
Yeah, you went on the roller coaster of trajectory with me, because I met you when I started writing this book that I'm actually still writing, but it's so emotional. It's such an emotional roller coaster of discovery. Whether the book is going to come to life or not, I really hope it does, because I think there's a lot of life lessons in there for people. But it's really the healing process. And I think that everybody should kind of go through the process of discovering what is it that is holding you back from all of the things in life that you want? Because the truth is, we are the only thing holding ourselves back from whatever. We want it to be everybody else's fault. I mean, we always want it to be everybody else's fault, right? Because they did something to me. They did this, or they did that, or they caused this, or they caused that. But really, they didn't. And that's the big epiphany of life is, no, they didn't. Maybe somebody did when you were younger, right? When you were like in those early childhoods, when you're putting the puzzle pieces of life together.
Right.
But then it's yours to heal. And so as an adult, you don't get to blame anybody else anymore. You don't get to. You want to, but you don't get to. It's like really when you start peeling back the onion and start looking at your life and saying, okay, these things happened in my life and these are mine to heal now. So if you get mad, if you get sad, if you have depression, if you have anxiety, if you get triggered in any single way, and you want to blame everybody else because he cheated on me, or she stole money from me, or she took advantage of me that way, or he did this to me, those are all just feedback. And to me, that is the most important thing to realize, is that it all the power lives within you to heal it and to move past it and to start living the life of your dreams. And happiness only can come inside. It can only come from inside. And we always look for it on the outside. It will never come that way. And no matter how good chocolate is, it's only a moment of pleasure.
Yeah. Oh, I love chocolate. Oh my God.
Right?
Now I'm craving dark chocolate. Oh, thanks a lot.
Dark
Thanks
chocolate
a lot.
is the best.
I love it.
Is the best.
Everybody does have challenges. I mean, I had challenges. I was molested as a child. And, the thing is, I could have gone through life. And I think, and especially being a podcaster, and I've talked to so many people on Life Transformation Radio that have these incredible stories of transformation and have really gone through a lot. And the one significant point that they all have made is that they're not survivors, they're thrivers. In that, we have an opportunity as humans to hold on to our story, and we get to give it meaning. Like, I didn't have a great childhood. I just didn't. There was alcoholic stepdad who was physically and emotionally abusive to me, and my parents got divorced, and just a lot of crap. And
Mhm.
I just decided that I'm not going to let that stop me. And because I want a great life and I don't want to hold on to that stuff.
Yeah.
So we have the opportunity to, create how we are going to move forward, because
Mhm.
the stuff that happened to me happened in the past.
Mhm.
It's not happening now. Now, I did work on myself. I'm all about reading and personal development, and I've gone to lots of therapy. I go to therapy now. But however, the reason that I go to therapy, which I think is the greatest thing, is that so I don't have to tell my friends all the shit that's going on in my life. I get to tell someone and pay them so they listen, so my friends don't have to hear it, because they don't need to hear it. I'd rather just share those beautiful moments with my friends. And so when you really address your past and really just acknowledge that this is your past and that it is taken away from your life,
Mhm.
how dare, why would you let something that happened in your past have you have a shitty life?
Well, I think that most people don't know that they have something from their past that's causing them to make ill decisions now. The problem is
Right.
the awareness, right? Like I was completely unaware that I had pain like this buried deep inside until this relationship gutted me, sternum to belly, and I bled. And I was like, what is happening? Like, why do I have, what are you talking about? And so I had to go back and discover, and it was, the biggest aha moment for me was not about in psychology, they talk a lot about the trauma that happened to you as a child is the reason why you have issues as an adult. Well, I didn't recognize that I had trauma as a child. So then it was like I heard, it's really just what happened to you as a child and how did you record it? Because you're putting all the puzzle pieces of life together and you're seeing how the world works and your place in it. Now, what happened to me was also generational learnings and generational hurt. So it turns out that your heart muscle, your real heart, right? The one that pumps the blood,
Right.
actually records emotional lessons throughout the generations. And we bring that with us. So generational hurt is not only learned, but it's also inherited so that you have a level of intelligence when you come into this world to know how to deal with the world that you're being born into. And so that's generational. Now, I happen to come from a very long line of divorced women, which is highly unusual, right? I mean, I'm divorced.
Yeah.
My mom's divorced. My grandmother was secretly divorced, which that never happened at that age, right? Her
Right.
mother was divorced. And her mother, before that, my great grandfather poisoned the well and tried to kill the family and, was caught a few towns over and was publicly hung, right? Like this is in my family.
Whoa.
So right? These lessons are all generational down the line. And so it's men love you and they leave you. You're the thing and then you're not. We're not good enough. That was all those programs. When my parents started getting divorced, that was a program that my grandmother had learned. And I remember being on the driveway of my house when my grandmother informed us that we were not good enough and not as good as the rest of the people in the neighborhood anymore, and that we didn't belong there. And I was, impressionable 7 years old going, oh, we're not as good as them. We don't belong. And so then your brain looks for validation of this, right? And then you go through life of now I know why I'm not good enough. We're not as good as these people. Even though all the other parents started getting divorced too, right? Like it was the 1970s. Everybody got divorced back then, right? I remember when I finally dated somebody whose parents were still married and I wondered what was wrong with them.
Yeah, I remember the day that my mom told me she was getting divorced from my dad. I was 5 years old and we went to church every Sunday and I always wanted to go donuts. We passed a donut shop all the time. Every Sunday we passed a donut shop. And that Sunday, well, wow, that's interesting. It kind of choked me up. That Sunday, we went and got donuts. And I'm like, And I got whatever donut I could get. And I got a dozen donuts, and that never happened. It's like one donut if we ever got one. And she just kept handing me donuts. And then she told me that,
wow,
they're getting divorced.
Yeah, like, it doesn't surprise me that it choked
It's so
you up.
funny. I remember the parking lot. I remember everything about it.
Yeah.
And, back then, the women got everything, and my dad ended up just demolished in the 70s. And it was interesting. So, I was married, and I'm now divorced and remarried. And what's amazing about it is that I was married, but I was committed. Like, I was married for 16 years. I was married for a long time. And because I put up with a lot of crap in my marriage. I was an abused husband, but I wasn't going to get a divorce because I didn't believe in it. And then I was like, nah, I'm getting divorced. Yeah. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Best thing. I mean, I never knew that I could have a life that I have now with the relationship I have now.
Right.
And it's just amazing how, you talk about the programming, I didn't come from divorce. My mom was the first one to start that pattern, but I've stopped it because, it was a bad marriage. So I had the right to get the divorce, but it's not like multiple times or that. And I now have found my, end of life partner.
And you've learned communication skills. I mean, I would say that with, you and your wife have great communication between you.
Absolutely.
And that's such a key in life. It doesn't matter the relationship. It's not just the spousal relationship. It's every relationship in your entire life. When you're having problems, that's an indicator. It's just feedback that something has been triggered inside of you, that something else lives inside of you, and you're taking it out on this person. Even when you feel justified because of what they've done, you have justification. It's still feedback of something that lives inside of you, because you cannot trigger a feeling of an emotion that doesn't exist inside of you. So if you're triggered, it exists. And one of the greatest transformational exercises that I've learned overall is that if you have memories, and we all have memories, right? Some people block them out completely and they don't have very many memories. Those people in particular need to discover their memories, because the memories are feedback. The memories are there to tell you what your story is. The memories are there for good or for bad. Those are the things you don't want to, you want to analyze them, but not from a judgmental perspective, from an open mind. And you want to just say, okay, I have this memory. Who was there? What happened? How did I feel? Do I like it? Do I want to change it? Because now as an adult, when you're going through the transformation and you're wanting to get back to that homeostasis, that centered point of view, like how I'm getting back to my happiness and my real me, is going back and going, okay, I liked this. I didn't like that. Why do I have this memory? What happened? What do I need to address there, right? How do I need to heal that little girl, or for you, that little boy that went through that thing, right? And you need to feel validated, and you need to feel, because all the time it's like, oh, stop your crying before I give you something to cry about. Like, to me, that was always the stupidest statement I had ever heard in my entire lifetime.
Yeah.
I was
you know what? I heard that in a store the other day, and I just looked at that lady. I just looked at her, and I just kind of connected with her. And she actually then just hugged her kid. He just wanted a hug. It was just something happened. He just got startled.
Right.
Oh, he fell. The kid fell in Target, and he hurt himself. It scared him. He almost hit the side of the end cap where, it could have been worse, but it scared him. He fell, he hit his head. I heard his head hit. I'm like, she goes, stop your crying or I'll give you something to cry about. And I'm like, holy crap, man, the kid just fell.
But it's learned. That's learned. It's learned. That's learned behavior. You know what I mean? The mom's probably at her wit's end, right? Like, we don't know what's going on with her and inside of her. And she's just like, I don't need it. Like, you're being a crybaby. Well, he is a baby.
Right. And the one thing that people, I think, tend to not acknowledge or they miss is that no one is responsible for your happiness. You're responsible for your happiness. And it's been amazing because when I was married, it felt like I was responsible for my
Right.
now ex-wife's happiness.
Right.
And she was never happy. And I never did anything to make her happy. And now, in my marriage now, is amazing because when we first had our conversation, when we got together, we both agreed that, look, I'm not responsible for your happiness. I'm going to do everything within my power to be the happiest, transparent, highly communicative spouse, partner that I can possibly be. I'm going to make myself the best I can be. And I invite you to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not responsible for your happiness.
Well, you can't be. The thing is, we want something external to take away our pain, to make us happy, to, make life easier. You know what I mean? Like we're looking for that, but it cannot come. It all has to come from within. And when you're battling depression, you're battling anxiety. I learned this really great exercise from this lady last night. I never realized that she says everybody's living in low-level anxiety because we don't know to close the stress cycle. I never realized there was a stress cycle. And so there's when you enter into a stress pattern, stress can be good or bad. Stress is neither good nor bad until we put the label on it, right?
Right.
So
we get to give it our own label and create our own story for whatever happened.
And they registered exactly the same in the body. Good stress and bad stress registers the same until we put the negative or positive feeling toward it.
Right.
And so that also, it has to be the empowering part to say, okay, I'm feeling this way, and you can analyze it or you can not, or you can just say, what will make me happy right now? How can I get rid of this? But there's a difference between addressing it and healing it. You have to feel it to heal it. You cannot, like I told you, I went through the death, over the summer and this whole past year of this person. And I just allowed myself to cry every ugly crying tear that I could ever cry to just, you have to feel it to heal it. And the reason I was going through all that hell and the reason I got into hell in the first place is that I had shoved all those other feelings deep down. I never felt them at all.
Right.
So then by not feeling them, I wasn't healing them. I was ignoring them.
And they would sneak out every once in a while because I've experienced that with you. You'd be fine, then all of a sudden you were not fine.
Yeah. And that's everybody. And you know what I mean? Even when you think, I put in all the work and I've healed, a lot of people that are alcoholics or go through drug addiction, and they come out on the other side and you want to say gosh, I put in all that work and I healed all my fears and all those things that happened as a child. Like the rest of life should be blissful, right? Like I earned it. But we're humans and human life is full of the constant need to re-heal and relearn and re-go through. And so it is a never-ending process and a process of ever discovering what next thing you can heal from and how do you bring those healings to other people. And you hit the nail on the head, Rob, when you're talking about, you and your wife and you're saying if I can be the happiest, best version of myself, you bring that as a gift then to everyone else that it enters into your presence. And one of the things that you've always gifted with me is you've talked about my energy, right? And I do tend to have a lot of positive energy. And I like that about myself. And that is a portion of what went away when I fell off that cliff and I went down into the depths of hell. And I know one of my girlfriends said, "Where is my sunshine girl?" And I said, she's buried, she's buried underneath pain. And I don't know how. I was starting to climb out. And it took me years to climb out of that hell. And I mean, not that I was never happy during those moments. I always had moments of happiness, but who I am, the true sunshine girl.
Surface levels of happiness.
I had to heal on the inside to feel good on the inside so it can come back out again on the outside.
And then, how does that make you feel? So that was 9 years of just horrible emotions and all this trauma. And so just imagine what your life would have been like during those 9 years is a long time of a life.
It's a long time.
And so, we have choices in our life. I know people that have had trauma and they just live with it forever and ever and ever. And they don't want, I don't want to say they don't want to, but they won't live in the present moment. And the one thing that I always share is that it's so important to live in the moment, the present moment. When you live in the past of all the things that have happened and stuff like that, it really adds to depression. I mean, it's depressing. And when you live in the future of like, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, this is going to happen, you have anxiety. So if you take time out to breathe and you work really hard to stay in that present moment, your life is really, you're almost floating. It's a wonderful feeling. I have really dived into that.
As long as, I'm going to interrupt you because it's only floating and blissful as long as what's going on in your life at the moment is joyful and blissful. If you're in a constant state of anxiety and depression and you don't see happiness in your present life, which is what I dealt with for those 9 years, right? I was dealing with a person who could not get out of that hell. Like, present wasn't any better than future or past because the turmoil was a constant. And that comes back to that closing of the stress cycle. Like, he never closed the stress cycle. He never decompressed to allow a closing of something that is no longer serving him. Like the feedback that we get in anxiety, it exists for a fight or flight or friend or foe, right? It's like, how do we react right away? And so then you have to elevate that to, is this real? Right? Let's get out of the reptilian brain and into mammalian brain at least, right? And saying, is this a real threat? Am I really at threat? And when you don't have money coming in, or you don't see how you can have a job or get a job or what you can do, and you don't feel any value in you, that's still a real threat. So to live in the present doesn't feel any better than to live in the past. So what you have to do is actually just make a conscious decision and take I don't care if they're baby steps, go back to that. What was that? What About Bob movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the Baby Steps movie and the Baby Steps book is actually a brilliant strategy for getting out of the hell that you're in. And just realize that life is a constant cycle of this. So you're going to get out of hell. Allow yourself to get out of the hell. Take a job. It's not going to be the job that you want or the job of your dreams. It's the job of right now, so that you can get back on your feet, so that you can move forward, and then it's building back up your self-esteem.
Right. But what I mean by that, and I love what you say, the baby steps, is what I mean by that of living in the present moment. So say, for example, I'm trying to think of something. So when I say that, so like, say you have something happening on Monday that you have to deal with on Monday. You have to go in and get a consultation with the doctor because on Friday they called you and they said, you need to come in. We need to have a conversation with you on Monday. It's Friday. So what I mean by living in the present moment, you have no idea what the conversation is going to be on Monday. So Friday night, you have a choice. I can live in the present moment of Friday night. I can wake up, have a beautiful Saturday morning. I can wake up and have a beautiful Sunday morning and a nice Saturday night, a nice Sunday. And then Monday is when you're in the present moment, and then that occurs.
Yeah.
Because what happens is people create these stories of things that are going to happen, and they respond to them as if they've already happened. So what I mean by, living in the present moment is so powerful because people react to things as if they've happened, and they haven't happened, and they may not happen. So that's what I'm saying in that is that it's Friday. Something's going to happen on Monday. You don't need to be miserable Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. because Monday hasn't occurred yet.
Right.
And you don't even know what Monday is.
Right.
Like,
You're
I
worried
know
about
people,
something that might not be. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I know people that have gotten a call from their boss and said, hey, Jennifer, I want you to come in Monday at 10 o'clock. Want to talk about your future with the company. And you're like, okay, great. That sounds wonderful. They spun out of control.
Yep.
They were a basket case Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They were not fun. They lost it. They're like, oh my God, how am I going to pay for rent? Hey,
Triggers.
Jennifer.
It's triggered.
Right.
So that's the programming of what's inside.
So this is what happened.
Go, it's not positive or negative right now.
And this is what happened on Monday. Jennifer, I want to talk about your future with the company. You're amazing. Yep. We have all talked together and we want to make you senior partner. Yep. We think you're amazing. So that's what I mean by staying in the present moment. Our brains are wacky and they create all kinds of story and we react to stuff that hasn't happened yet. Mm-hmm. Just like, for example, the people that are like, hey, I'm not going to submit that resume for the job because I'm not going to get it.
Right.
Well, guess what? You're not getting it because you didn't submit for the job.
Yep.
So that's what I mean by the present moment.
Yeah. I mean, one of the most important things I think to understand is that our brains are fabulous, but they're not designed to help us thrive. They are designed to help us survive.
Right.
So that's why you get that, they talk about the comfort zone, right? The comfort zone is the most dangerous place to live because it's where all your dreams go to die. And the anxiety comes from seeking the comfort zone when you should be seeking adventure and exploration and something else. You should be doing something else, right? But you're seeking the safety, the perceived safety of the comfort zone when it's actually not safe at all. So you have this turmoil of anxiety that's going on.
Yeah. And I think there's some things that we can all do in those moments. And I'll go back to being in the moment, but our brain is pretty powerful. The universe is pretty powerful. And we have our spirit guides behind us. Mm-hmm. Our team is always there. And it's so important to acknowledge them. The universe gives you little moments of clarity and little tips of like, hey, this is not how you're in flow. This is not your centered you. And they kind of tap you. You get a little nudge here. You get this, that. And if you don't pay attention, something major happens. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like if the universe wants you to stop working, you're going to get really sick. You know, you'll get a little bit sick and you don't take care of it. If you don't take care of things, the little hints the universe is giving you, like, hey, just a suggestion. You need to slow down. Yeah. You need to be more present. Yeah. The universe will respond in kind, little steps, and then it'll hit you over the head with a 2x4. Yeah. And you'll know that.
That's all the internal pain that's unaddressed turns into external pain that people can see so that you're showing people, I'm hurting. It's trying to show you're hurting, but you're like, no, I'm only hurting because I fell. I'm only hurting because I was in a car accident. I'm only hurting because, something smacked me in the head. Well, those things happened because you're hurting inside and you haven't dealt with it. And I know that's a little woo for some people and they're like, roll their eyes, but it's the honest to God truth. It's really what's true. What is going on internally turns into what goes on externally. Your external factors are a bellwether of what's going on inside of your body, inside of your mind, inside of your heart, inside of your soul. And it manifests in what is going on in your world externally. So if you don't like your external world, fix your internal heart. Fix what is going on inside of you. And it's easy. I mean, I looked for years and I was like, I've got nothing. I'm fabulous. I love life. Life is happy. I'm happy. It's all those other people who are assholes. Am I allowed to swear? Whoopsie. But but I mean, really, that was my thought process. And I literally had real clear things. They did mean things. They were bad people. They did this and they that, right? And when you point the finger, and it's so easy, we point fingers, but there are always 3 pointing back at you. Every time you point your finger, there are always 3 fingers pointing back at you, and you have to look at that. That's the most empowering part. And I think that's the part that people don't want, and they don't see it. If they don't see it, they're like, it's not external. It's all these other external factors. I don't control any of that. And I'm going to challenge you. If you want the transformation in your life, look at those 3 fingers that are pointing back at you. What is it that's in your control that you can change? I was pushing away men that I wanted relationships with because the subconscious mind of mine didn't trust that they weren't going to hurt me.
Right.
So I would push them away even though I really wanted them in my life. Like, what in the what?
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty powerful how when you actually take control of your life and you drive it, like you don't just float around in this ocean, and you actually take responsibility for your life. And it's not about blame. It's about responsibility. So, one of the things that I always talk about is that your life is your life exactly based on the actions and inactions that you have taken in your life.
Right.
Because with, not taking action, there's a consequence, an inaction, or taking action, there's a consequence. There's just a result of that. And so if you know that and looking at your life like my life is today, and the reason is today because of all the decisions that I made. And what that means is that, I'm the driver of my life. So you then can say, if I'm the driver, if I'm the creator of my life, if I'm the painter of my life, I have a blank canvas and I can draw whatever I want. I can let go of emotional trauma. I can let go of emotional baggage. I can do this. I can do that. And if you have a life where you're just massively upset and frustrated, then the inaction is of not dealing with past trauma. So your life is your life based on the decisions that you have made. And once you take ownership of that, you're free.
Right.
Your life can be however you want to create it. And that's one of the beautiful things about life is that we drive our life. And a lot of people don't want to take responsibility, like, oh, my life sucks, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? You made decisions, and those decisions are where your life is. That's just the way it is.
And you have to make new decisions to get off the hamster wheel, right? Another brilliant Bill Murray movie is The Groundhog Day.
Love it.
So many of us, and that's what I did when I was in hell. I didn't know how to get out of hell. So all I did was wake up and, I lived Groundhog Day every day, just trying to survive until one day I said, I can't do this anymore. I have to change things. And I started climbing out of hell. And
the one thing that I noticed over a very short amount of time, probably like months or so, is you've transformed. You've lost weight. You look different. You're more radiant. You look younger. Your voice is different. The way your energy is totally different. It's who I saw you were before you were there, which I find pretty remarkable.
Well, I had that death that happened, at the beginning of beginning of the summer. And then I had other traumas that happened in the fall. And I was at a pivotal low point again. I found myself, you know what I mean? At the end of November, and I was like, or early December, and I'm going, this is what I have to put I'm done. I'm done being depressed. I'm done. I had to put bookends on that. I said, okay, this happened. And it made sense that I would, fall into those patterns, and these other things happened, and I get it. And now I'm done. I'm done being taken advantage of. I am done having people, walk all over me, right? I'm done being a doormat. I'm done. And I did the work. You know what I mean? And I've been doing the work. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's not a one and done process. It's a continuous process. But finally, my throat chakra is opening back up again where I can have a lower voice. Because when your throat chakra is closed, you kind of speak like,
I know. It's so fun. I'm like,
Minnie Mouse.
You sound so different. You sound so different.
Yeah.
And it's really nice.
It's about becoming centered back into who do you want to be? What do you want out of life for real? And then who do you have to become to get it? So in order to become that person, you have to let go of certain things. And that letting go is one of the hardest things because there's comfort in the misery that we know. We say the devil that you know, right?
Right.
We don't know that there's comfort, but there's comfort in discomfort. I know this discomfort.
Right.
So we choose it, but I don't want to choose it. I'm done. Gone.
Done and time to drive your own life.
Yes. I'm excited.
Yeah. The future's so bright for you. You got to wear shades, baby.
You know it, babes.
Jennifer, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. You're fabulous as always. This was great.
Oh, really wonderful. I really enjoyed you being here today and being so vulnerable and sharing how you have become your centered you. Thank you so much for your support and taking the time out of your busy and precious day to listen. I so appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me, along with my very special guests, to touch your heart, move your soul, and inspire you to live a life of transformation. I'm Rob Actis. Until next time.
This is Life Transformation Radio. Download complete.